Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really bold new theory, one that claims to have found a single universal pattern behind, well, almost everything, from the words we use every single day to the size of our biggest cities. Now, that is a huge claim, so let's get right into it. So, let's kick things off with a mystery that you see every day, probably without even noticing. Have you ever just stopped and thought about why, in almost any system, it seems like a handful of things get all the attention? Or do all the work? I mean, really think about it. In the English language, a tiny, tiny group of words like the, a, and is pretty much make up the bulk of everything we say and write. And around the world, just a few massive cities hold a huge slice of the entire population. You see the same thing with website traffic, even with scientific papers. This isn't random. It's a strange, very predictable pattern that just keeps showing up. Well, this observation actually has a name. It's called Zipf's law. For a long, long time, scientists have been debating why it appears everywhere. Is it just some weird statistical fluke? Well, one really ambitious new theory says no, it's not a coincidence at all. It's actually the signature of a fundamental process that's shaping our world. Okay, so we've got this pattern that seems to be everywhere. Now let's take a look at the theory that claims to explain what's really going on behind the scenes. The explanation is a framework called Triune Harmonic Dynamics, or THD for short. And at its heart, THD suggests that all systems, and it doesn't matter if they're made of atoms or people or just pure information, they all evolve and change by following the same three-step rhythm. This whole framework was pioneered by a researcher, inventor, and author named Kevin L. Brown. The story goes, he was analyzing all this complex data when he started to see this hidden rhythmic pattern, kind of like this quiet music playing just beneath the noise of all these chaotic systems. All right, so THD points to a universal rhythm, but what are the actual mechanics? How does it work? Well, the core of the theory is something called the 369 framework. So here's the idea. THD proposes that everything, and I mean everything, evolves through this simple repeating cycle. First, you have emergence. That's the birth of something new. Then comes contrast, where that new thing gets tested by opposing forces, creating tension. And finally, you get integration, where everything settles into a new, more complex, stable state. And then the cycle just starts all over again. Now, this isn't just some philosophical concept. It's actually grounded in a specific mathematical relationship. THD proposes that these three phases, emergence, contrast, and integration, line up with a numerical pattern of 3, 6, and 9. The formula you're looking at right here is the model that describes how that pattern drives the growth of a system over time. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. How does this kind of abstract 369 idea connect back to that very real pattern of cities and words that we started with, Zipf's law? The bridge between the two is a concept called structural pressure. The best way to think about it is to imagine you're squeezing a garden hose. The water can't just flow out evenly anymore, right? It's forced into a much more focused, powerful stream. Well, according to THD, systems like language or city networks feel a similar kind of pressure. So let's just walk through this using that THD cycle. In the emergence phase, a language has tons of different words, all of them used pretty loosely. Then you get to the contrast phase, and pressure starts to build. People need to communicate efficiently, and it's just plain easier to remember and reuse common words. This pressure forces the system to find a better solution, which brings us to the integration phase. The system organizes itself into that hierarchy we call Zipf's law, where a few keywords do most of the heavy lifting. And that is the crucial point. This isn't an accident. A few words dominating our language isn't some kind of bug. It's a feature. It's the most efficient way for the system to organize itself to handle the constant pressure of communication. And the same thing goes for cities and websites and everything else. But look, a powerful idea needs to be more than just a good story. It has to be testable. We have to be able to prove it wrong. So how would we actually know if this THD explanation is off the mark? This is what makes it a strong scientific claim. The theory gives us clear conditions for when it would fail. For example, THD would be false if we found a system under a ton of pressure that never formed a hierarchy. Or, the other way around, if we found a perfect hierarchy in a system that had absolutely no pressure on it at all. And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. If this theory holds up,
Zipf's law is no longer just a cool statistical party trick. It becomes a diagnostic tool, a clear signature that tells us a system is under pressure and has organized itself in the most efficient way possible. We could potentially use it to understand the health and stress levels of everything from online networks to entire economies.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. If a single universal rhythm of emergence, contrast, and integration really does shape our world, from the words we speak to the cities we build, what other music, hidden in the data all around us, are we not yet hearing?